welcome to the Canarian International Meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Mossy and I am an alcoholic.
And my name is Mick, and I am also an alcoholic, serving as your secretary today. Join us for a few moments silence to remember the still suffering alcoholic, both inside and outside the meeting.
And Julie's going to read the preamble for us. There you go, Julie.
Hello, evening all. I'm Julie and I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholic Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve the common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for memberships is an honest desire to stop drinking. AA has no dues or fees. It is not allied of any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorse nor oppose any courses. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Thank you, Julie. The chat is now disabled until the end of the meeting, except for the meeting host. If you feel the meeting security is at risk at any time during the meeting, please let one of the co-hosts know.
In this meeting, we celebrate AA birthdays. If you are celebrating an AA birthday, please message me or Mossy in the chat, and we will celebrate together before this general sharing part of the meeting.
That's about it, folks. From that, we head straight over to Mickee Mac. I'm not sure if you know what's going on here, Mickey, but the main speaker, our role timer, which is you today, over 30 years sober, you get to speak for 45 minutes, and Kathleen's our timer, so and she's instructed not to stop you. So there you go, Mickey. You have fun with this.
Right. Okay, my name is Mickey and I'm an alcoholic and a very grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I asked a man in my hometown whose name was Michael, I need help. And I told my boss where to go. I'd robbed a poor box out of off a bar, and the police were looking for me. And the girlfriend had thrown me out, and I burnt a lot of bridges on one session of drinking. And it was early hours of the morning, and I think it might have been 1989. And he brought me into his house, and we drank lots of coffee, I think. And I believe we read something out of this. And I think that was the first time ever that I had reached out for help. And we were going to go to AA tomorrow. We're going to go to a meeting tomorrow in my hometown of Galway in the west of Ireland. Of course, all them other things arrived tomorrow, you know. That I didn't know that what they were called, you know, terror, bewilderment, fear, shame. I'd no names for anything, no, didn't understand emotions. Just didn't understand what was going on. And what was I thinking? Not that bad. We'll be able to sort it out. I didn't go to AA, and I didn't meet Mike. But what that done, I believe, was the seed of Alcoholics Anonymous was sown within me. Now, I needed help, badly needed help when I was about 17, but I had no voice, and I could not say. I was very, very emotionally shut down, engulfed with fear, engulfed with shame, and screaming to be liked and to be loved. And I think as well, there was a bit of a, are you sure that's my mother and father? You know, it's, I just don't seem to fit in. You know, I grew up in a town that was full of rockers and I became a mod. I went to a school that was mad into heavy metal. I was in a fight every day. Everybody supported a red football team. I picked the blue one. And school was horrendous. There's no other word or name for it. School was horrendous. And I hated it and I switched off. And still up to today, I do struggle with books. I've got a lot of books. I've got a lot of books I've never looked at, but they look good, you know, they look the part. They're on the shelf. And they told me that in AA later on, that you take the book down from the shelf. So I had to get a shelf and I had the books, you know. And my mother used to say stuff to me like, I just got over your father's troubles and then you started. Drink doesn't suit you. You change. And yeah, the first time I took a drink, before I even took a drink, yeah. Before I even took a drink, there was something not right in there, you know. I've got a picture in this book of me on a little rocking horse, and I'm about 4 years of age, I think. And there's another picture which is me sitting at my mother's dressing table, and there's a bottle of nail varnish remover there, and I am smiling. And I loved all of that kind of stuff. Nail varnish, Tipex, lighter gas, petrol, anything that had a skull and crossbones on it and said, don't, highly flammable, do not take with alcohol. I always went, why not? Yeah. Keep away from a naked flame. Why? Wet paint, don't touch. What? Yeah, it's wet. Oh shit. And when I first took a drink, I got in trouble with the police and with the security guards in the university that night. But what I really remember about that night was there was 5 of us and we had 6 flagons of cider, and I was the first one into the spare one. I puked a few times. That didn't matter, but you still kept going, you know. And you know, I've been told since in the fellowship that, you know, if you're allergic to strawberries and they make you sick, you don't go and have a fucking bunnet of strawberries tomorrow, you know. But cider, wow, yeah, Bulmers, anything, yeah. And I caused a lot of havoc, stupid things, you know, drinking and driving, and no license, no tax, no insurance. Worked on motorbikes, became on first name terms with the police, was on probation, barred from places, seen my mother in psychiatric, was told my father put her in there. Later on in life, I was told I was putting her in there. I got an awful lot of mixed messages growing up, you know. Communication in the family wasn't a forte, you know. It was, my father came from a huge family, one side of the town, and my mother came from the other side of town, and they were all the goody goodies, you know. My father would steal the eye out of your fucking head and put the hand on the Bible and say, it wasn't me, Your Honor. And I went that way. The mother would say, yes, it was definitely him. I seen him do it. You know, and I lived with aunts, I lived with uncles, I lived with my grandparents, and went to different schools. And I always just wanted to get away, you know. And when I did leave, I had to leave. And I went to Germany for a new start, a new beginning. And there wasn't any different. I had to control my drinking. I had to control my drinking for 6 weeks. And on the 6th week, we were given money. We were allowed out on a Saturday night in Frankfurt. I got introduced to Jack Daniels. And I told everybody that I was with how I really felt about them. I don't really know what happened. But what I do know is the next day, my bag was packed, my Irish flag was pulled down off the wall. I was shoved in a car, brought to Frankfurt Airport and told, we don't need the likes of you around here, you know. And that was it. And I was back being the little scared boy when I was 12, before I ever touched them. You know, I couldn't speak any German. I had a few quid. I couldn't go back home. The police were after me. I'll go and visit my sister. She's in London. That's what I'll do. And someone to look after me again, you know. So out of Mammy's home to someone else's home, you know, and that fear and insecurity and everything was running rife all around inside of me. And this thing, the head, it has always wanted me dead. Doesn't matter how long I'm around the rooms, it can still tell me that, you know, today is the day that the men are coming to take you away. You know, today's the day you're going to get found out. And the thing is, I have this knowledge about it today. I didn't have it back then, and I just did not understand what was going on. So my only method of quietening the mind was to take a drink, or just to take something, just to take the edge off. You know what I mean? But I didn't know about our illness. I didn't know about that I had an allergy. I didn't know I had a disease. You know, nobody had ever explained anything to me. And if they did try, I couldn't sit still long enough anyway. You know, I'd be gone. You know, so I arrived in London, and I found my sister, and she was in this. I found this out later. She was in a squat in Hackney, and that weekend, I couldn't understand why. It was a Saturday night and she was indoors watching fucking television. You're supposed to be out enjoying yourself, you know what I mean? It's like, come on. And after that weekend, I had a job lined up for Monday. I was in with the right crowd and I was off and running. And that was around Christmas 1990. And I was in a bad way, a bad way. I remember picking cigarette butts up off the street on Christmas Eve and walking around the streets of Hackney and not having anywhere to live or sleep, and trying to break into other apartments or flats, you know, just council places to get your head down and get out of the weather. Yeah. When I did achieve that, I acquired a sofa, which two of us took turns sleeping on. And we had cans of beer in there, and we had some candles. And we decided to sell the sofa one day. So we brought it down to this secondhand shop. And the man opened the whole thing out, and it opened up like a bed. I never knew it was a fucking bed. Yeah, and me and Scouser was his name, Peter. We were looking at each other going, Jesus, look at that. We could have had a few on that, you know what I mean? But it was whacked. And different things and different scenarios were going on, you know, within my head, and hiding and running and trying to work it out, whatever it is. And I was thinking about what Mike had said to me about going to this AA thing. You know, we'd go to a meeting. So I think it was around the 15th of March, 1991. And being a good Irishman, I was green, white, and orange from head to toe, flags hanging off me, stripes, streamers. I went down to the Hells Angels caff and shop, I got a tattoo on my arm. I don't remember getting it, but it says Paddy's 91. And I went out for a drink. And I came to and woke up on the 18th of March, cable tied to a bench. And I didn't pay extra for that. There was no handle on the door in the room to get out. And I was advised that they weren't sure if I was going to jump out the window or what I was going to do, that they tied me down for my own safety. And I was released and got some anti-booze and got some Hemanevrin and played Russian roulette with my head. Can I drink? You know, how bad is this anti-booze stuff? And I got some details. I remember saying to my sister, we got to find AA. And we found a meeting in another hospital. And I got to that meeting. I got to the door of the meeting. And I didn't know I had pride. Yeah. I couldn't go in. I couldn't take that important step, the fucking doorstep. I could not open the door and just go in. And a man called Michael, another Michael, came out. I was smoking cigarettes. I was 9 stone 6. I was as yellow as the yellow card that says, you know, our literature. I thought that was my son Pan Faden from the Canaries, which I was there in 1988. You know, it took a while to wear off. And I was very ill, very ill. And he said, you know, you can come inside out the cold, you know, and you don't have to say it and do it. You can get a cup of tea or whatever, and just, you know, just come in and join us. And I did. Everybody seemed to be happy. And I think what it was today was somebody was celebrating an AA birthday because there was cake and all that kind of thing, you know. That was a Wednesday. And I went to I don't call that my first meeting. My first full meeting was back in the hospital where I had woke up, cable tied to the bed, downstairs. And I've kept coming back since. I was 24, you know. And in a few weeks' time, I'll be 59. I know. I don't look it. No. I had my own hair. I didn't need glasses. And I had all my own teeth, not half of somebody else's. And yeah. And I did not want that meeting to end. I remember feeling, oh, there's something here. I don't know what it is. And there was a man from Cork, and he told me to be at a certain bus stop tomorrow night at 7:15, and we'll come and pick you up, and we'll take you to a meeting. And if you're not there, we'll come and find you. And he said it to me like that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah. Okay, I'll be there. And there was another man there from Kerry, and he gave me this. He said, this is our book. He says, when you have £6 or £5.50, you can pay for it. And he's been chasing me ever since. No, I paid for it. And yeah, they become good friends. They become good friends in the fellowship, and they're both still in the rooms today, you know, and which is great. And probably for the first year or so, I argued with everybody that was in before me because they were all older and I was young and ye were all ancient, you know, because I was supposed to be dead at 30. 30 was ancient, you know, but now here I am, 24, and Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, I've got a life to live. You know, what do you know? You've already lived, you know, and they're telling me to go to meetings. So all I've done was went to work, went to meetings, went to work, went to meetings, got more resentments, didn't know what I was getting, but I hated everyone. You know, and as for the scrolls with the steps and the traditions, they were for somebody else. Jesus, they were way down the line. You know, the first word I ever wrote down in the big book, and I don't think I spelt it right because I'm not very good at spelling, was paradox. What in the name of God is that? You know, I'd never ever heard that in Laffy's Bar or any of the places I visited. You know, and yes, it was, yeah. I went to my first AA convention in an old sanitarium, old hospital. And I had my first spiritual awakening. And she walked across the floor. She was blonde, beautiful. And I needed her number, you know, and she would look after me. And I got her number through somebody else because I couldn't ask her, because it was full of fear, because I didn't have that bottle of courage with me. And I moved in with my sister and her boyfriend after one meeting. And for the next year, probably a year on and off, it was emotional turmoil and tennis. And it was unbelievably painful, like it's described in our literature. I started doing all the old behaviors. See, I hadn't changed. I'd stopped drinking. I hadn't done any of the program. I told everybody in West London I had a sponsor in East London, and I told them all in East London I had one in West London. Of course, what do alcoholics do? They just fucking talk to each other, don't they? You know, so I was self-will run riot in a fluorescent orange car with a mad sound system. No tax, no license, no insurance. Still the same way, you know. And yeah, I felt like I had arrived. And I came to a head. That girl took a drink. I ran to my van and got the hell out of there. I was scared, didn't like what I could see. And I ran back to East London to tell them that, you know, I need help, which they all knew, you know. And I got a phone call from somebody called Chris, who I've never ever met. And he said, if I give this phone number a ring, this person might be able to help you. And with the situation you're in and how you are, this might be a good idea. And this woman was called Elizabeth. And I rang her and told her a few things, and we arranged to meet at a meeting in Swiss Cottage. Very posh, very, very posh, yeah. And this lovely blonde, tall lady turned up in a lovely flowing denim shirt and nice jeans. And my head went, lovely. She's looking for a toy boy. And I have landed on my feet. And what I didn't know was this woman was to be in my life for the next 30 years and to mentally and physically batter the living daylights out of me until I'd be broken and surrender in every single way, you know. It's the reason why I'm sitting here today. That woman saved my life, you know. And, you know, she told me to get a little notepad and a pen and try and get them to meet. And whatever's in your bleeding skull, she says, write it down. Take it out of your head. She introduced me to big book studies. She introduced me to going away for different treatments and different counseling and you know, all of the things that's kind of suggested within our program and within the fellowship about, you know, if you've got issues other than alcoholism, there's other places that you need to go, you know. You know, I came to AA to stop drinking, and I stopped drinking, and it works. And there was an awful lot wrong with Mickey before he ever started drinking that I'm still today chipping away at, you know. And I got involved in service in the fellowship at a young age. I made tea without any resentments at my home group for 4 years, and nobody could take that job off me, no matter how many group consciences they had. Yeah. it's a great thing for figuring out your tolerance, you know, making tea, because you get people who have sugar and they put the wet spoon back into the dry sugar. Man, did I want to kill the feckers. I remember talking to my sponsor about it, and I told her, why don't you put some salt in it, Mickey? Oh, yeah. You know, if you need a sick message, you just go to a sick alcoholic. Yes, yeah. And but yes, that was a step in tradition meeting. And I went there every Friday night for nearly 15 years. And I sat in the same chair. And all of us sick fuckers that were in there at the time sat in the same chairs. And we didn't have any controlling issues or anything like that whatsoever. And we knew who was going to read what at what time and what sections. Yeah. And we were known as, yeah, we had a few names. Most of us, I think, up until today, I think there's one or two members that's passed away, but everybody is still a member of Alcoholics Anonymous from that group, you know. And I got involved in other groups in East London and set things up and helped people to set things up and got involved with some conventions and stuff like that. And it's great when you get asked for information about anniversaries, with like meeting, celebrating years and all that. It's like there's about 20 or 25 different people who set this meeting up, and there was only 4 of us, you know. And it's great how people latch on. My story today is doing life is difficult, you know, and I believe doing life is difficult for everybody, whether they're inside or outside the rooms. And we all have some sort of demon, you know. I had a headache this morning at 3 o'clock. I got up and went for a walk. And Dara, or whatever this second storms that's blowing outside, started blowing a gale, and I loved it. I was thinking I was back in the west of Ireland, and I wonder what it's like at Blackrock on a night like tonight, you know. And of course, everybody in the house knew I was up, you know, being considerate, you know. And then, yes. I left London after 25 years in AA, and something really big happened. I'll go back a little bit, sorry. I became a dad when I was 23 to a lady from Manchester who was visiting my hometown. And I ran away scared because I didn't understand what women go through when they're pregnant, and I didn't understand how they change. And being a male chauvinist, definitely didn't understand. And I promised lots of things, like I heard my father promise my mother. You know, we'll get a better place, we'll get a home, I'll stop drinking, or we'll stay in. Staying in didn't mean you didn't drink. It just meant you didn't go out for a drink, you drank indoors. And eventually we split up. And she went back home with my daughter to England. And my little girl's never seen her dad drink. I've been in her life since she's about 1.5, 2. And she's been to AA meetings and everything with me. And I lived my life in London, and I got married. I shouldn't have got married. I know that now. And I probably knew it then, but all the family were coming over, and they were all turning up in their suits and all that, and the mother was coming. And I just went with it. I just went with it, you know. I couldn't let them down. What would they think? And I people pleased, and I got married. And I got married for the wrong reasons. And it took me 5 years to explain to that lady that I can't do this no more, and for me and her to separate. And I had a longing inside me. I had a longing for a long, long time. The little boy within me wanted a boy, you know, and I wanted a dog, and I wanted another motorbike. And I did run it by some people in AA. You know, the ones that have the answer to everything, no matter what your problem is. And some of them said, well, a motorbike might be dangerous. Oh, I don't know. Oh, having children at your age, maybe you should start with a dog. My sponsor said to me, she said, why don't you just get a plant and try and look after the plant? Yeah. Yeah. God, did I hate that woman. Loved her, but hated her. Twisted. You know, and so I stayed doing what we're supposed to do. I stayed going to meetings. I noticed this lady in a meeting. So I started going to this meeting because they were on another part of London. And I asked her out. And I asked one of my sponsees, and I asked my best man, you know, are the signs right? None of them two have ever been able to hold down a relationship in their life, but I thought they were well clued in the relationship field. And I asked her out, and she said no. I had bore my heart out to her, cooked her a dinner and everything, and here I was sitting in my own house, and she says, I'm sorry you feel like that, but I don't. And she got up and left. And 2 weeks later, she come back. I'm even more confused. Woman, what's going on? You know? And we had two sons. Not one, two. Yeah. My boys 17 and 14. And I know their mom and dad don't drink and go to AA or go to meetings. And that was excruciatingly painful, having to try and grow up even more in the fellowship with some sobriety behind me and still having to find out more stuff about me and emotions and feelings and discover that I still have more issues to look at. You know, one thing all my exes have in common is they've been all able to point out that I have issues. So I'm grateful for that, that I'm told that I have issues, you know. And so in 2013 or 2014, I think, me and my partner split up. The head really kicked in. I was hopping it off the garage door because my head was going, see, you failed with your girls. You've now failed with your boys. You're still no good. You're still worthless. You know, you can't do anything. My sponsee at the time decided he didn't want to be in the fellowship anymore, and he went off to do some more research. See, you didn't tell him the right things. Yeah, you were no good as a sponsor. You should have done this with him. You should have done that. And the machine that I was working on in the construction industry went a bit haywire, fell over, and a man died on this machine. And I was dragged through court and a hearing, and had barristers and a jury and a judge and all the stuff that I had when I was a young lad in my hometown, and it all came back up. And I was being accused of manslaughter. And I was scared and thinking, I'm not going to be able to see my boys. What kind of a dad am I? Now, all during all this turmoil and havoc, I did want to switch the head off, but I didn't want to drink. I knew a drink wasn't the answer. And I remember phoning Elizabeth outside the court as it was having a break. And she says, Mickey, you got to go and find a quiet place and just breathe and pause. And it will be okay. I know it will be okay. No matter what, it will be okay. And we went back in, and I was not charged with anything. It wasn't my wrongdoing, and it was an accidental death. And I was free to go. And I walked out of that courthouse, and the heavens opened with thunder, and I was crying my eyes out, and I was physically getting sick walking across this road. And I realized then how precious and how important sobriety is, and how precious and how life is, and never ever to put anything in front of it ever again. And I went back home to my flat in East London. And I sat there for about 4 or 5 weeks. And it just got very grey. It wasn't black and white. It got very, very grey. And what had happened was the trauma of growing up and all the traumas that I had gone through. And I'm after going through this massive trauma. And I was in a state of post-traumatic stress. And I didn't know anything about that, you know. The medical people told me this. I would just sit there with a blue Fred Perry t-shirt, and the green one would be in the washing machine, getting washed, waiting for the blue one to go into the washing machine. I had a drawer full of them, but I only wore the blue one and I only wore the green one. But I was okay. And people in Alcoholics Anonymous would ring me and message me and say, you know, nothing grows in the dark. Nothing grows in the dark. Fuck up. Why don't you go outside for a while? And I was just going into this grayer and grayer and grayer place, you know. And the doctor came over and they put me on medication, and I slowly came around a little bit, and I stepped outside of the flat, and I went to a meeting. And that meeting I went to was a lunchtime meeting in central London. And I got asked to speak. And I actually stood up, and I felt like for the first time I was part of AA. I had paid a lot of dues to get where I was at. I made a decision shortly after that. It was time to sell the flat. It was time to leave London. And as Elizabeth had said for years, Mickey, you need to put down roots. You need to get grounded. You need to be earthed. And I never knew what she meant then. You know, when you're in the middle of something, you can't see anything. You just could not see anything, you know. And I sold the flat. I walked away. And I got a little home now in the country where you can grow a few spuds, a few veg. I got a couple of cats. I'm gone right soft. My kids think I'm gone a bit too lally altogether, and I love it, you know. But what I also done before I moved was find meetings to where I'm moving to. And I found a new home group, and I explained to them how they were doing it wrong. And I've stayed sober. And I go and visit my kids every 2 weeks. Because I tried to be the dad that my own dad wasn't able to be there for me, you know. And it took a long time for me to be able to understand, you know. My dad came from 22 in his family living. He went to work when he was 8 years of age. He took me to work at 8 years of age because that's what he do, you know. He took me shoplifting when I was 11, and all I was told to do was don't tell your mother. So when my son was 11, my head went, today's the day you can teach him, you know. Yeah. But AA has taught me that that's wrong. You know, AA has taught me a way of living, to do the right thing, you know, not act out. You know, and I'll fight a tooth and nail, you know. I'll fight a tooth and nail because the old behavior, the reason why I'm able to sit here tonight is I've had to survive. I have had to survive, and I've had to fight for it. And I don't mean people, I mean fight my will. and surrender and surrender and surrender. And I often asked, how come I have to keep surrendering? Why can't somebody just one day say to me, sorry, it was my fault? But it's about me having some peace, you know. There's a piece in this book where this little boy is smiling on his rocking chair, and it's called The Professor and the Paradox. And I wish they never took it out of the stories. And there's 4 highlighted pieces in it, or 4 pieces in it, which have got big words, you know. And one says, we surrender to win, we give it away to keep, we suffer to get well, and we die to live. And to me, that's all of AA's program. You know, I've been listening to cassettes. Some of you now might know what a cassette is, and I'll have to take it out of a box and show it to you because you're all fucking young'uns. But of speakers that were around before me, and I've been able to go to as a kind of gift to myself. I went to Akron, Ohio to find out and see where it all started, this fellowship, and learn some of the history and the books, and meet some just unbelievable, amazing people. You know, I remember going there and I was 10 years sober, and I was sitting at a table, and most of them were 35, 40 and 50 years sober, just all geezers drinking coffee, talking all day. How long you got, kid? I said, I got 10 years. Keep coming back. Yeah. And there was nothing else special, just that stuff, you know. So I'm really, really grateful to be sober. I make a lot of mistakes. I open my mouth. I don't think. What I've learned as well, try not press the feck it button. You know, I've got turmoil going on with my 1 or 2 members of my family at the moment, but I can't be there for them. I need to be here for me at the moment, and it's just come to light. I lost my dad 2 years ago. It's just come to light that I'm reaching out for help with some counseling for that, and I need to look after me on that. You know, that I've suppressed it. I thought I dealt with it, but it's what I've always done. Yeah, I'll be fine. I'm okay. How are you? You know, it might be an Irish thing. Someone says, how are you? And you go, how are you? And you just turn it around, you know. And so I'm here today, and I'm grateful. How long is that? I've been talking forever.
You've covered 40 minutes.
What?
You've done 40 minutes.
That's enough, isn't it?
You can keep going if you want.
No, if it's okay. Do people share back?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, we'll be here all night. There's no hands raising. So do I get to pick the hands?
No, you get to pick nothing now.
Yes. Those 2 with grave emotional and mental disorders. I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm still one of them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll finish up on this. You know what I mean? If anybody is struggling, and I know it happens, and it's irrelevant how long we're around, we struggle at different times. I have to remember not to take the drink, not to take anything that's going to change me, you know, from me. And even though I don't want to bother anyone, or I don't want to be putting anybody out, you got to reach out and you got to ask for help, no matter what it is, you know, because we're only as sick as our secrets, and our secrets drive us to drink. You know, it's the head that wants us dead. It tells us in the doctor's opinion, it tells us in the early chapters that, you know, that it's in the mind. The illness is in the mind, you know. So thank you for listening, and I hope somebody has got something from that. Cheers.
Thanks, Mickee Mac. That was an amazing share, I have to say that. I didn't realize that I knew you until I found out who you were. and we know each other, we're connected. And I got so much identification from your story. And even right up to the end of it. It was after my mother died that a lot of my childhood came back to hit me. And 2 years later, then something else came up. And 2 years after that, something else came up. And every time it floored me. But what I had to do was, for me, I had to go for counseling each time. And it just made all the difference for me. I tried carrying stuff and burying stuff my whole life. It doesn't work. You know, you bottle it, you're going to end up drinking it or taking it out on the wrong person. And that was the case with me. I hate my drinking story. And I tried to get well as the years went on. And I think I'm doing pretty good today. I'm blessed that I'm still with the same woman. I can't afford to get rid of her now. And I have 4 kids. I talk to all of them. I have 6 grandchildren. And they're nowhere near, are they, Kathleen? Good. I have 6 grandchildren. I'm going to see a few of them next Saturday. I'm flying over from here, from Lanzarote to Ireland for 22 hours. Literally, I get off the plane, I go to the hotel in the airport, spend an evening with them, and fly back to Lanzarote again. I am not restored to sanity, and nor do I want to be. I just want to have a laugh in life. And I spend most of my time laughing today because I'm willing to do the work on myself. Mickee, it was fantastic to hear you. I'm really glad you joined our meeting there recently, and you're going to be a great addition to this group. I just love to hear sobriety. You never mentioned your drinking. You went straight into you showed the big book within 10 seconds of getting sober. So that's it from me. We'll pass you over to Mick the Ferret. Thanks, Mickee.
Thanks, Mossy. Thanks, Mickey. My name's Mick, and I am an alcoholic. By the grace of God in this fellowship, I don't need to take a drink. You know, I identified with lots and that. You know, my mum thought if me getting married would straighten me out, but you know, I had this ease of the mind as a child. I was a thief, a liar, and a cheat, and that's how I grew up. The drinking just sort of added worse, you know. It was coming into Alcoholics Anonymous that where I was able to change, because, you know, you people showed me what was wrong with me. I used to think that I was okay. It was everyone else. I blamed the world. I blamed everything. My mother, my parents, everyone, my grandparents, all their faults. But a little while in AA, I realised that I was the problem, not the booze, me, you know, and I had to learn to work on me. And you know, and I'm still working on me. This is going to be a lifetime program for me. I started off wrong, and I'm aiming to be right one day. You know, when it'll ever be, I've no idea, and I don't care, because today is the day I live my life. And it came to me 2 years ago when I was told that I wouldn't live much longer. I needed a heart operation, and I was too ill to have it, and then most probably would die. And here I am today. And on that day, I vowed that I'm going to live my life the best I can in the day. And that's what I do today. I have an amazing life, not good to everyone, you know, maybe, you know, it's not good what they would want, but it's what it suits me. And I identified with you as a tea maker. I was the tea maker and washer up, and they smoked in those days, and they used to put I'm a non-smoker, and they used to put their dob ends in the tea, what was left in the tea, and I would have murdered them if I was allowed. But all the right people have been in my life in recovery, and they have shown me That's you people on the screen now, are showing me daily how to live a complete, happy life. You know, sometimes it's not good, but it's okay. You know, the worst thing can ever happen to me is that I take a drink. Not like if I lose my leg or arm or a dog or anything, is if I take a drink. Because what you've given me, this gift of sobriety, is so precious. And Nadia is going to read the promises.
There you go, Nadia.
Thank you, Mossy and Mick. My name is Nadia and I'm an alcoholic. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will instinctively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. Thank you for letting me do service.
Thank you, Nadia. And just a reminder, guys, that this meeting is on every Saturday at 6 o'clock, the Old Timers meeting. And we're online every morning at 8 o'clock. Meeting starts half 8 to half 9. We have a meeting on Thursday night, and we have a Step 11 meditation meeting, of course, every Sunday. And we use the same meeting code for all our meetings. And I just want to take this chance now to thank Kathleen, our timekeeper, all the other co-hosts that were there, falling asleep. And thank you, Mickey, for sharing with us today. Absolutely fabulous job. Next Saturday we have another great speaker next Saturday. We have Jerry C coming from the States. His poster will be put up in the chat. The following week we have Libby celebrating 31 years. And that's it from me. Mick, take it away there.
Right. Stick around for fellowship after the meeting. If you want to use the breakout room in the after meeting, please let the hosts know. Right, the yellow card.
Who you see here?
What you hear here,
When you leave here.
let it stay here.
And Mickey, will you lead us out with the serenity prayer?
Okay, no problem at all. Can you help me close the meeting, please, in the usual way, using the word God as you do or don't come to understand? God.
God,
Thank you all for a lovely meeting, and thanks again, Mickey, lovely, and Mossy, and.
Thank you.